Invincible! Sorry, I'm getting excited. I'm excited.
All right. Hello, welcome to Beilman's Corner. I'm Joe.
And I'm Neil. And today we're going to be talking about Invincible, something modern.
Yes.
Yep.
Unlike our nostalgic trope and tripe.
Yep, and tripe. Trope and tripe. You're right. We've only done nostalgic videos, you're right.
Yes, it's only been nostalgic.
Right, so this is good.
In the past. So this is more modern stuff to talk about.
It's something we're watching. It's organic. Yes. You know, the world.
It just ended its third season.
On
Amazon Prime.
Yep. Which I was amazed of when. Yeah, you told me it was the end today, and I was like, oh. It was? That was the finale?
It was a pretty action-packed season.
It was very much a finale, and it was a good final episode.
So the third season concluded with a major battle. Mm-hmm. Spoilers,
yep. There will be spoilers if you haven't watched it, because we're just going to talk about the whole shebang.
Yeah, that's what you're going to do.
And then once season 4 rolls around, what, 3 years from now, 4 years from now?
I don't know. It seems like it takes forever to get a new season.
I know, of any show.
They've been pretty good with it, though, I think, right?
Yeah. They've been pretty good with this, you're right. Yeah. Invincible has been pretty consistent.
Unlike Severance, which we're going to talk about.
Yeah, we'll talk about Severance, too. So we're going to be talking about all modern stuff lately.
Hopefully the next recent videos we're going to be doing Invincible today.
And
then we'll be talking about
Severance.
Reacher.
Reacher, too. Reacher, we love it.
And at some point we might do a karate... Cobra Kai video. So those will be the next content we're probably going to be trying to get out the door.
And by the time we do Cobra Kai, it might be nostalgic. That was another show that took a long time between seasons.
They really stretched that one out.
Yeah.
Netflix.
And then they pulled the double dose season for the final season.
It was like a triple dose season, I think.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, I forget. How they did it.
Nonetheless.
It took forever to finish.
We'll talk about that later. For now, we're talking about Invincible.
Yes. So back to Invincible is what this episode is about.
Yep.
And
I'm enjoying the hell out of it.
The second season 2, when it came through, after that I was a little bit. I thought it wasn't as strong as the first season, but this third season I think was just as strong, and the ending was just as strong as the ending of the first season, in my opinion.
We very much agreed. I thought there was a lag in the second season. The first season swept me in. Yeah, it was a really good show.
And even I get it. They wanted to build their characters up more, so I think there were more slower beats to it a little bit.
Yep.
And this season, that was pretty much... There were a couple of the episodes that were, more focused on the sappy stuff between Mark and Eve.
Yes, it always seemed... Yeah, mostly they stuck with... And also, the Rex Explode guy.
Yeah, Rex exploded.
He's dead.
Yeah, he's gone.
As far as we know.
Goodbye, Rex.
Yeah, but they did...
Goodbye, Rex. Hello, robot stealing Rex.
Yes, okay, so there's that.
Yeah, literally the clone of Rex.
Yeah.
That seems like...
That'll be something interesting down the line, I
don't know, that creeps me out, man. That Rex, the robot Rex.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that
creeps me out.
That is really
Something
creepy.
about him creeps me out. But that's just a bad choice on his part.
Yeah, I feel bad for Rex.
Let the man lay.
Yeah, he made a big sacrifice for the rest of the group.
Yeah.
Blew up his skeleton.
And he was a great character arc. Yeah,
he was.
His line of redemption was...
And you almost saw it coming.
Chef's kiss.
I think a lot of people did see it coming.
But they did it really well.
They did.
Yeah.
They did
for a show that is like... in comics, I guess. I don't know about the comics. Never read them.
No, we haven't read the comics.
No, but the show's been great, and I hear it's pretty much just kind of expands on... I hear there are a couple things that aren't in the show, but...
And you know what? I should read the comics.
Yeah, maybe one day.
Yeah. I read
I don't want to spoil the show for myself, so I'm going to hold off on the comics.
Definitely. Yes, there are spoilers, and try if you do leave comments. We don't have a lot of viewership.
Just don't spoil it.
If you do a comment, definitely comment, please, but don't spoil it for people in the future. I mean, seasons 1 through 3, it's fine. Spoil that because we're talking about it.
That's basically on the books now.
But talking about, it does remind me of what I wanted to talk about is how it's reminding me so much of Spawn era when Spawn was coming around in the 90s. Except this got really popular where Spawn didn't really catch on mainstream. Comic Bee people loved it. Todd McFarlane, all that stuff.
Honestly, because the main complaint about the bad animation in the background a lot of the time.
Yes.
maybe
I didn't
it's
hear
like
about that.
my
You mentioned that.
nostalgic loving brain, but it does like trigger that like era of late 80s and early 90s cartoons that like were made on the cheap to sell toys.
Yeah.
That's kind of like how the animation does feel sometimes in the background characters. So I understand the complaint, but in my brain,
I'm sure
it's
they're
like
spending a pretty
triggers the nostalgia of 90s cartoons.
It
like
does.
shows.
You know, it does a lot of times. Now they're doing the new X-Men 97 series.
Yeah, that was spectacular, by the way. That's a highly recommended one. We'll probably do a thing on that.
But even before that came out, the animation would remind me a lot of times of that.
Of that era, yeah.
Of that era.
Yeah,
now
so
that,
for sure.
Yep, and it was almost
triggering
like
that nostalgia part.
it was good to see X-Men 97. Now it's all coming back with comic books, obviously. That's an obvious
It's like
statement.
basically when you were a kid, how you added the violence in your brain to some of the scenes in like
Yes,
cartoons.
that's very true.
Like they just play it out now.
And how you wished when you were a kid, when you saw your cartoons and they dumbed them down, the violence, how on G.I. Joe and everything, nobody died. We're kids of the 80s, so I think of that. You know, G.I. Joe and stuff. They were fighting wars and stuff. You never saw one person die. So it's exciting to see a show come along and be violent, hyper violent, because it has to be that way with what these guys have, their powers.
And it's kind of like,
do to people.
I guess the whole concept is like taking a more realistic take on comic book tropes.
Yes.
Because it does play out a lot of comic book trope, but does like a inversion or like
Imagine
a twist on them.
And two, an interesting thing.
And kind of takes that idea of like Superman
Yep.
turning evil
Yes.
to like a further, like a more realistic.
Well, that's what I've read people liked about the comics.
As far as that goes, you know.
It took it to a very real level.
Like, try to make it more feel.
And it was kind of the first one to do that, you know?
Based in reality, how many people would be dying.
Yes.
Stuff of that nature if these people were actually existed.
And that's been harped upon lately in movies, Superman versus whatever.
Let's face it, it's a superhero culture and media.
Yeah, it's
for
big
the most
now.
part.
It's
big.
huge now.
It's big.
And it wasn't when we were kids. It was still
like the new
always
Daredevil show
mainstream.
too that just came out. Like it is a big I mean, everything's superhero.
It seemed like every group had that one friend who was. We had him. We had one friend who was into all the comics, could tell you everything about him, and he was a great dude. But I always felt bad for him because he was always on the outskirts talking about these comics, and Spawn was the big one at the time that he was into. And it's just.
I never got into comic books ever.
Yeah.
But I always got into comic book shows when I was a kid. Like
That's true.
The Spider-Man.
You always watched them,
the
yeah.
X-Men.
And because of this friend, I
Batman.
read a bunch of the Spider-Man, the Maximum Carnage stuff that was around back then. I read that whole series. And it was very interesting and very hyper-violent. And I remember when I was reading them being like, imagine if they could take a show. And they kind of did it. They had a show on HBO that was Spawn.
Yeah.
And it wasn't as hyper-violent as this, as I remember. But it would have been great at the time if we had it. Now it's coming to fruition. People are like, it's acceptable. And I was thinking to myself, imagine if Marvel tried to do this hyper-violence, like on...
No, they
just converted it.
Because Marvel's it needs to grab the big audience.
Yeah, so the worst they're going to
Biggest
go to
audience
is...
possible, so...
I think they've done a couple
like PG-13. They've done a couple.
But even that, it's not people's heads exploding and someone's face getting caved in because...
No, caving into the faces is something they love to do on Invincible.
You would just traumatize people.
There was a lot of caved... I've noticed that the theme of caved-in faces is strong in this show.
It could be even argued that it's a little sadistic in that sense, but it's just...
Angel Levy's face got caved in.
Yes, people melt pretty frequently.
Yeah.
A couple people have melted, and it's all very visual and very what you would expect it to be like if it were real life,
so the
in
big
animation form.
So one of the big revelations at the end of the show, after the Viltrumite War and after the devastation after the multiple marks coming.
Yes. Oh, yes. That's the whole arc of the season, essentially.
And then Conquest coming right back to back.
Yep.
And the havoc that was wreaked on the world. Along with Angstrom Levy. It was like Angstrom Levy. Then the other alternate marks before him.
It was pretty
And it's
cool.
like... then you get Conquest at the very end, and it finally breaks Mark to realize, like, okay, it can't just be black and white. Like, you can't always like pull the Batman and never kill.
Yes,
you know.
So he started.
But I see where they're going. I can tell you, I know where they're going. They're gonna eventually. Mark's gonna.
Oh, don't say it. Do you know?
No, I don't really know.
Sorry, all right.
I'm saying intuitively, I'm thinking they're gonna be going down the route of Mark going down to a point first being like, oh, you know, maybe just killing one or two people that are really bad, like he just did, and then it's gonna turn out like
I see.
He's gonna, you know what I'm gonna say? He's gonna like that power is gonna. I think it's gonna go to his head a little bit, to his head, to where he starts thinking like, oh, I have the right to choose who dies,
maybe his dad,
and who lives, and kind of reflecting, Omni-Man. You remember that speech that Omni-Man gave at the end of season 1, where he's like, "We're better than these people."
Yes, you know, he goes on a big.
We're basically gods, you know.
He calls his wife a dog for Christ's sake.
She's my pet more so.
Yes.
So. That whole thing, I have a feeling...
You think Mark's going to go through that arc, too?
I don't think intentionally, but it's going to be like a slow crawl to like him being like more and more, you know, killing this person because, oh my God, it might have... But then like killing even smaller, more petty criminals just because, you know, like, oh, this guy's robbing a store, it could hurt
this person.
But like, you know, when you could actually just de-escalate it, he's like... stomping out like criminals,
vigilante,
almost, and then it's gonna like people are gonna be like, hey, you know, you're taking this too far. Maybe I don't know if it's gonna go down that way, but maybe I could see it going down that road. That's what's interesting because it's got potential to go down many different avenues with that story.
I like that idea because it just clicked in my head. What if his dad has to take him and call Mark down?
That could happen. I suppose
that would be a weird dynamic and kind of cool. So there's a lot of stuff that I'm very interested in. And it keeps dawning on me that there's a full comic where this could be spoiled for me, and I'm amazed it hasn't, and I'm very happy. So
what did you think about, I guess the last thing I kind of want to cover here,
yes,
before we kind of wrap it up is, what do you think about Mark's decision of being like, no, you're right, Oliver. There's certain people that are just no good. You gotta end them. They're evil.
Right? It's kind of funny that his younger brother has to kind of point that out to him.
Like, that's, I guess, you guys can comment down below.
Yes,
what
definitely.
Do you guys think about that?
Yeah.
I, like...
Because it does harken on enough.
I obviously, like, I think there's a line you cross, like, obviously, where there's certain, Who gets to be the judge of that, I guess, is the next question.
And the arbiter of justice.
And I guess, like, yes, if you're protecting loved ones in self-defense, I'm sure we all would agree, like, that's okay.
And the guy, what's his name, Scarface, wants to be that guy too, Mark. Kind of wants to be the person who keeps him in check. And is that guy who's like, Mark, you can... Not really... Cecil. Yeah, he's not the guy who's going to tell him who to kill or not, but he's kind of the guy to keep him, wants to rein him in if he reaches the point you were just talking about.
So that's an interesting... And then that's another aspect is, like, do you guys think that, like, that dichotomy of Cecil being like, no, we got to pursue whatever we can to protect the planet from guys like you if they show up.
And that was a great arc to the season, too. In the season was their argument at the beginning and how they exploded.
Like, I'm curious if Mark and him are ever going to come back together because now that Mark's coming around to the...
And he's going solo, essentially, not working for them.
You know,
a government. Or
if he can see that Oliver's got... Yeah, it's not always black and white, and sometimes you might have to...
And Cecil's a great character.
You might have to snuff out a life.
Cecil's such a good character. Yeah, because...
So that's why this show is like regardless of all the animation qualms people have, to me that's why the show is interesting because it kind of poses these interesting moral questions like what's that classic philosophical question of the train tracks with a bunch of people on a train heading to their death, or like you could be the person or one person on the track. You know, you could either kill the one person on the track or save the whole train car. That like train trolley problem or whatever it's called. Yeah, so there's like asked a lot of like philosophical questions,
Needs of the many versus needs of the
and covers
few.
those type of topics in this show. So that's what makes this Invincible show so good to me.
Yep.
Regardless of animation qualms and stuff,
Yep.
the battles are fun and all.
For me, it's just it comes down to actually those kind of come down to just that. I love that aspect of that. I get giddy over the fact that finally I can see a comic book come to fruition where he can get away with what he wants. And I know
that's nice. That is
Kirkman
nice
and
to
Robert
see that
Kirkman
somebody is able to do that.
has his free. That was one of his stipulations going in. I've read that he, has free reign to kind of make it as violent as he wants and has creative
creative control.
And so far, that's been done really good. And there's negatives to me that I have for the show. There's the sappy stuff, the CW stuff.
Yeah.
Whenever he starts
feeling like a Dawson's Creek echo.
And I understand that.
That's
and
the
if I was younger,
building.
I would probably be fine with it, and still.
But we're bitter old men at this point. We're middle-aged. We're bitter middle-aged men, okay?
Oh my God,
we're not quite old yet. We're middle-aged. I feel decrepit and old, but we're middle-aged.
We qualify as old, I think. Middle-aged, definitely.
Old souls.
Old souls. But now watching this show makes me feel young again.
Yeah.
Kind of. So that's good. That's where I feel like we should leave it because going into
we definitely recommend the show. If you haven't seen it,
watch it.
I hope you didn't watch our video and just have the season spoiled for you and kind of some of the storylines.
No, even if we spoiled it, it's worth watching.
Go back. Yeah, that's true.
Really
even if you know some of the stuff, go back and watch it.
Yeah, we didn't go into too much spoiler territory just this season.
But yeah, it's a good show.
Fantastic show.
The moral quaandaries are interesting.
I give it top ratings. I would give it, if it was out of a 10, I'd probably give it, for me, season 1, I'd give an 8. Season 2, I'd give probably a 6.
Yeah.
For me. But this last season, a 9.
I'm on board with those two numbers.
So brought it right up to here.
Yeah,
for me, to the top,
I like this season
really
very much.
It.
I think I liked it almost better than the first season.
I think so
respects.
too. I think so too.
Because I do like the multi-character exploration. So.
Yep.
All right.
So thank you for commenting.
Well, thank you for joining us here on Beilman's Corner. Beilman's Corner. Beilman's Corner. Like and subscribe, please. Hit that subscribe button if you've watched.
And we'll add more videos.
Like we said, 18% of you.
We're going to be
hit
modern
that subscribe button that watch. So
well, it's not something we planned, but it's just something we're doing now. So,
so like and subscribe.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching.